Hello, everyone. It's me, Nigel Seeley, and welcome along to the first edition of Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, the #1 tennis betting podcast brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. As you can see, I'm solo for the first tournament of 2024. My partner in crime, Sean Calvert, he's away on holiday, and unfortunately, he's come down with COVID, so he's not able to record today. But he will be back next week. So unfortunately, you've got to put up with me, I'm afraid. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, it's back. We've had the lengthy layoff. I hope you had a very Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a very Happy New Year. But the tennis season is back with a bang. We had a 6-week rest. Last season, we ended up with some really, really good figures, some great returns from Sean. Lots of nice winners. You can check out the video on Betting Weekly Studios video we have there of all the top 10 picks of 2023. And we're going to try to go even better in 2024. A lot of pressure on our shoulders, but I'm sure we'll be delivering it for you over the next 10 months or so. 10 months. Oh, sounds like a long time, doesn't it? But the countdown to the Australian Open is near us, and we start this week with one tournament we're going to focus here, and it is in Brisbane. Now, form coming into the season is massive. If someone shows a bit of form at the start of the year, they usually go quite well in the Australian Open. So it's very important for players to get off to a very fast start. And when we look at the Brisbane tournament here, we haven't had a tournament in Brisbane since 2019. But we look at the previous winners, they're all big servers. Nishikori won it the last time it was played in 2019. Prior to that, Nick Kyrgios won in 2018. Then we had Dimitrov, who's in actually the #2 seed this week in 2017. So Raonic, the big serving Canadian, and that man Roger Federer also won it. So the court speed is fast. Very hard to say now because I haven't seen it for a couple of years, but I would expect it to be in the top 10 of court conditions. If you look at the data from 2019, first serve percentage was 75, service hold was 83.4. So that is a high speed. And looking at the qualifying so far, you would presume that the big servers will do very well here in Brisbane. So that's the conditions. The weather is going to be lovely, going to be nice, fair. High 20s, perfect conditions for tennis. So you don't think there's going to be any problems with that. Humidity is going to be quite high, around about 70%. There are a few storms expected later in the week, but shouldn't be no problem at all. Should be perfect conditions for the weather. But it is going to be hot and humid in some cases in some parts of the day on the scheduling. So that's quite important to look at. The big news for Brisbane, though, is Rafa Nadal is back. We're going to come on to the outright market. Big question mark over Rafa. Is he going to be fit? Hasn't played since the Australian Open last year. A long, lengthy layoff. We've seen some videos on social media of the Grand Slam champion, the former world #1, playing in some practice matches. He's been playing a lot against Richard Gasquet. If you're led to believe the rumours that you see in there, he's not hit his peak yet. And it's going to be very, very hard for Rafa to come back here and win a tournament straight away. I mean, he's done some incredible things in his career, but can he win after a lengthy layoff? I think that is going to be probably one of the greatest achievements of his career if he can do so. Bet Rivers think he can, though. We're going to come on to some outright markets, but look at the draw he's been given. He's been given a very, very, very tough opening match against Dominic Thiem. That is the pick of the matches. That match will be played on New Year's Day. There isn't any lines out on that, but I'll give you some stats and some thoughts on that match because this week it's just going to be me. I'm going to be doing this podcast here with you now on New Year's Eve. I'll be back on Monday and back on Tuesday looking at some matches, and then Sean will be back with me next week looking at the tournaments next week. So let's look at the matches. Let's look at the outright market. Let's get it right first. Let's look at the draw. I'm going to go to the draw. So let's look at the top half of the draw. The #1 seed is Holger Rune. Now, Holger Rune is another player. He's brought in Boris Becker. He's brought in a new fitness coach. He's brought in a big team at a lot of expense. So I expect a big season from Holger Rune, and he could start here fast. I'm not quite sure the conditions are going to suit him, but he will go deep. He plays against Max Purcell, the Australian, in the first round. So he's the #1 seed, and he will be scheduled to play in the quarterfinals if it goes to seedings, Sebastian Korda. Now, Sebastian Korda, if you saw our show, the recap of 2023, there was no player that cost us more money here on Game Bet Match than Sebastian Korda. But he does have a very, very good tradition to start very fast in years. Last year, he started very fast, won a couple of tournaments early on. The season before, he started fast as well. So you can forget Korda's end of season form. He always comes into a year in great form and fit. So that's a very tough quarterfinal there, Holger Rune against Sebastian Korda. Also in that section, you have Ben Shelton. Everybody expects a big season from Big Ben. He's could look like he can be the top American player at the end of this year. He's got a big Taylor Fritz who was on a downward curve towards the end, and the expectation is on him. But he again faces a tough opener against Safiullin, which is a difficult task. And then if he gets through that, he should progress through to the quarterfinals where he plays Sebastian Baez if he gets that far. So the top half of the draw: Holger Rune, Sebastian Korda, Ben Shelton, Sebastian Baez. If you take away Sebastian Baez, that is a tough section. Those three players at the top all could be potential winners here. And I think that's a tough part of the draw. The bottom half of the draw is a little bit easier. Aslan Karatsev, he's in there. Rafa Nadal is in there. Ugo Humbert is in there. Etcheverry is in there. And Grigor Dimitrov, who starts off against Andy Murray. So they are the seed. So I would say the bottom half of the draw is a lot more favourable than the top half of the draw. Let's give you some odds. These are the odds now currently to win the tournament with Bet Rivers. Holger Rune, the number 1 seed. Boris Becker, new team. I do expect a big season from Holger Rune, but he's a plus 450 chance to start with a win here in Brisbane. Given his route through to the quarterfinals, I can't see him not slipping. I can't see him slipping up, not getting to the quarterfinals, but he does run in to that man, Sebastian Korda. So that is a little bit difficult. Second favourite. Now, this is where I think the market is ludicrous. Second favourite at plus 480, Rafael Nadal. Now, as I say, Rafael Nadal, I think he's a massive fade in this tournament. I think he could be a fade against Dominic Thiem. If he does get through by Thiem, what condition is his body going to be in? He's got a tough match against Karatsev. So at plus 480 for the wild card to come back and win this tournament, that to me just is... I don't think I'd bet him at double figures. I really don't think I would. And plus 480 here, this is where the market is wrong. So there has to be some value in the bottom half of the draw if we're giving so much. What we're saying, it's a sort of a 23% chance or 21% chance that Rafa Nadal wins his tournament. I think it's more like a 9% chance or 8% chance. So that means there's value in that bottom half of the draw for players to get to the final. Obviously, Bet Rivers offer the each way money where you get half the odds the first two. So you get half the odds if a player gets to the finals. And I think that's where we've got to go. Third favourite is Grigor Dimitrov. Ended the season really, really well. Rolled back the years, but at his age, would you trust him at $6? He is a former winner here, but that was in 2017. 6 years on, he's the number 2 seed and he's the third favourite. Up against Andy Murray in the opener as well. So that's a difficult match. Ben Shelton plus 650. Huge expectation. The conditions will suit Shelton, but he's a very tough opening match against Safiullin. And he's in that top half of the draw with Rune, Korda, Shelton, himself, sorry. I know he's in with himself. JJ Wolf, Van Asher. These are Shevchenko I expect to have a good season from. So that's a tough draw and at plus 650, not for me. Sebastian Korda, plus 650 again, quarterfinal with Holger Rune. So the top half sees Rune, Korda, Shelton, and they are 3 of the top 5 in the betting. So you can see why I want to go in the bottom half of the draw. At 11-1, we have Ugo Humbert, 14-1 Safiullin, 18-1 Murray, and 20-1 Karatsev. Now, where my money will go this week, and I don't know, I haven't spoken to Sean, so I don't know what Sean is, if he's on the same level of me, but I think we've got to play in the bottom half of the draw. I think Nadal's a fade at 480, so we have to look for some value elsewhere. Grigor Dimitrov, 6-1, not for me. So the 2 picks I've gone for here in the bottom half of the draw, both each way, I've gone for Ugo Humbert at 11-1. I'm a big fan of the Frenchman. I think he's a very, very talented player. He's got a really big left-handed serve that is going to be a massive weapon in these conditions. He ended last year winning the tournament in Metz, where he was brilliant, actually. He beat Shevchenko 6-3, 6-3 in the final, beat Fognini 6-love, 6-2 in the semi-final. He got to the semi-finals in Basel. He got to the quarterfinals in Shanghai, the quarterfinals in Beijing, and he got to the quarterfinals in Washington and the semi-finals in Atlanta. So his end of last season was absolutely exceptional. We've always said he's potentially a top 10 player. He's up to 16, I think, now in the current, or 20 in the current world rankings, which is his highest ever ranking. He's 25 years of age. It's a big, big year for him. And I think Ugo Humbert here, he starts off against Mickelson. It's quite a tough opener against another big server. And then he will play Thompson or Vukic. I wouldn't see him having many problems with that. And then potentially Nadal or Karatsev. But I don't think Nadal's going to get that far. So I think Ugo Humbert at 11-1 double figure prices each way would be my main pick in the bottom half here in Brisbane. So that is my pick. And my saver, again, it's gone on the same theme that we want to fade Rafa. And my saver is Karatsev at 20 to 1 with Bet Rivers each way. Another player ended the season really, really well. He did get beaten the first round of Vienna in his last match, but prior to that, he was absolutely exhausted. He flew in from Tokyo to go to Vienna. It was a long flight, I think about 14 hours or something like that. And he won. He got to the final, in Tokyo. He got beat by Shelton in the final 7-5, 6-1. He got to the semi-final in Zhuhai. He got to the third round of the US Open where Ben Shelton beat him again. But Karatsev, on his day, is a top 15 player. He doesn't have many days, but at the start of a season, he's gone well. At the start of the season before, he's performed well at the Australian Open. And I think that Karatsev here at 20 to 1, because he plays Kubler in round one, injury prone all the time, Kubler. It's the start of the season and you would expect him to be fit, but there's always the potential that Kubler could break down. So he has Kubler in round one, you would expect him to win that. Then he has Dominic Thiem or Nadal. Now, I don't like Nadal, as we'll come on to, but Dominic Thiem, that is a big match for him as well after his years of injury. And I think Karatsev will have nothing to fear against either of those opponents. So I think Karatsev at 20 to 1 is my second play. So my main pick on the outright market in Brisbane is Hugo Humbert at 11 to 1 each way. Really expect a good season from the Frenchman. And my second pick is Karatsev at 20 to 1. So that's the outright market. As I say, the tournament starts tonight, New Year's Eve, 8:30. I think it starts Eastern time. So you've got plenty of time to watch this video. Head to the Bet Rivers website, place your bets. The outright market obviously will continue a little bit longer, but that'll probably come down when the action starts at 8:30. So you're able to get your bets on throughout the tournament on the outright market. Hopefully that none of these players get beat in the first round. 4 matches I'm going to talk about on round one. And the first one starts this evening, New Year's Eve, 9:30 Eastern time. And it's Ben Shelton against Safiullin. Now, Ben Shelton here is a heavy favourite, -155. Safiullin is +125. The handicap here, or the spread, is -1.5. Ben Shelton giving up 1.5 is -121. Safiullin receiving 1.5 is -106. And the total is 23.5. Now, you might look at that total and think, that's a big number to play, 23.5. And, it is a big number to play. But this is a fast call, very, very fast conditions. And these two are no stranger to long matches. The first time they ever met was in Chicago in a challenger in 2022. Safiullin won 2 sets to 1. He won 6-3, 4-6, 7-5. So on that occasion, the total games come in at 31. The next time they met was last year in Shanghai, again on a very, very fast court. Safiullin took the first set 6-3, but Shelton bounced back 6-3, 6-4, and the match produced 28 total games. You would think here that you've got to expect some games here. You would expect this to be long. You would expect it to go the distance. Totals are 23.5. I like that. If you look at set one tiebreak over 12.5 +260. I like that as well. Number of tie breaks in the match over a half a tie break, -115. So I think the angles for Shelton Safiullin is not really on the money line, it's on the totals. So whether we go for the total games at 23.5, whether we play the first set or we play a tie break in the match. I think the safest bet would be a tie break in the match at -115. I think that would probably be my option. I'm not going to give an official pick here. These won't be classed as official picks until Sean comes back, because that's definitely more his part of the show. But I'm just going to give you my thoughts on these matches. I'd probably be playing a total number of tie breaks over a half. So 1 tie break in the match, and we cashed, and that's -115. I do expect this to be long. I expect both players to be absolutely the top of their fitness, and I think they'll come out and I think they'll play a lot of respect for each other, and maybe have a little bit of pizza money at +260 on a tiebreak in set number 1. So that's Shelton Safiullin. That starts at 9:30. The head-to-head, as I said, is 1 win apiece. The next match we're going to talk about or focus on is a little bit later on. It's 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, and it's that man Karatsev up against Kubler. Now, both of these have had problems with their injuries, and both of these have problems over the years with their form. Some weeks they can be absolutely exceptional, some weeks they could be really poor. And betting Karatsev at minus money is not something you want to do. I think it's the first way to the poorhouse here. But he's -220. Kubler is +170. I'm not going to play the match. The spread here is 3.5. Karatsev giving up 3.5 is +102. Kubler, a plus 3.5 is minus 130, and the total here is 22.5. I am not going to have one bet on this match at all. I think it's a real difficult one. Kubler will have the home support on his side. Karatsev is the better player, ended last season on a high. Kubler won their only previous meeting, which was in Doha in 2023, back in February last year, in very hot conditions in a fast court. Kubler won the first set 7-6, and then Karatsev was injured. I think if you are looking for an angle in this match, again, I think first set tiebreak in the match again could be the way. A tiebreak in this match is plus 148. Over 12.5, a tiebreak in the first set is plus 425. I'd have a small lean towards that, but I'm much more happy to take Karatsev to win the tournament at 20-1 than risk anything on him at minus 220, because the downside is massive at minus 220 and the upside at 20-1 is huge. So Karatsev, Kubler, again, looking at total games, but no play and no conviction at all on the money line. But I think if Karatsev does win this match and takes on Nadal, I think that's a great matchup for Karatsev against Nadal, who's going to be very, very rusty. So no bet for me on the match, but I do think if you are going to play and have a little bit of a lean, again, we go on that tiebreak scenario. Tomorrow, 3:30 a.m. Eastern time, so an early start. Head to the Bet Rivers website. There's 28 different markets available on all these matches on the Bet Rivers website, and you'll be able to see the prices for Grigor Dimitrov, a former winner here, up against Andy Murray. Now, Dimitrov is a very heavy favourite, minus 265. Andy Murray is plus 210. The total is 22.5. And on the handicap, let me find the handicap for you. I'll find it in a minute. It is 3.5, minus 114, both players. Now, I watched these two play at the US Open on Arthur Ashe back in September, and Dimitrov absolutely dismantled Andy Murray. 6-3, 6-4, 6-1 it was on that day. And if he can repeat any of that kind of performance, then he's going to win this fairly comfortably. But this is Andy Murray. He's more determined than anybody else on the tennis circuit to prove everybody wrong. He's got an 8-4 winning record against Grigor Dimitrov. I know a lot of them go back a long, long time. I mean, the last match before last year in the US Open was in 2016, and the first time these two met was in 2011. So we don't really take too much into that head to head. But Murray is capable at the start of the year to produce some shocks. And again, I wouldn't have a bet at all on this match. Just it's a good matchup to watch. You will probably gauge whether Murray is going to be a threat this year, or he's just going to be a bit part in these tournaments after the back of the match. And Dimitrov, can he replicate the form he showed at the end of last year? I think that's going to be a tall order for him there. So Dimitrov and Murray, no bet for me. The final match we're going to mention is Dominic Thiem against Nadal. Now, there is no lines out about this because we only just found out that Thiem had come through qualifying and he's going to play Rafa. But when they do come out, I would expect Rafa Nadal to be quite a substantial heavy favourite here. Not quite sure if that's right, you know. I think Dominic Thiem showed signs of improvement at the end of last season. He had his problems with injuries, but he got better and better as the year went on. And if Dominic Thiem comes out here at around about plus 125, maybe that's what I'm guessing. I'm hoping for that kind of price. Then I think he's got to be a bet. I can't see how anybody can bet Rafa. I just don't see how. I don't see how you can bet him at plus 480. I don't see how you can take a chance on him to win this tournament, because you're really betting on the unknown. And we have seen improvements from Dominic Thiem over the last 6 months or so. So I'm really intrigued to see the odds on this. I'm hoping we get around about plus 225, 250, something like that. Sorry, plus 150. So I'm doing decimal, not American odds. I'm hoping about 125, 150. If we can get plus 150 for Dominic Thiem here, I'd be very, very happy. You've got to expect him to be the favourite, given that Nadal is plus 480 to win the tournament, and Dominic Thiem is not in the first 10 in the betting. So if the odds reflect the outright market and we can get a nice plus money price on Dominic Thiem, we've got to take it. We've got to take it. So that is a little bit of a wrap up there from me. I hope you've enjoyed it on my own. So I hope you've enjoyed it. And thank you very much for all your kind comments and your subscriptions and your follows for us on Betting Weekly Studios. Remember, you can follow us on @BecauseWeWin on socials, on Instagram and as well as Twitter. And you can obviously please subscribe. Please give us a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Betting Weekly Studios. Before I go, there was a couple of things I just wanted to mention to you. Just going to get the Bet Rivers website up here. If you head to the Bet Rivers website, they have website. They have season bets. Really interesting season bets here, and I really like this. And I wanted to talk about Sean about it. But it shows you like players to be ranked in the top 25 at the end of next year, and players to be ranked in the top 5 at the end of next year, and all the way down to players to be up in 35, 50, some really interesting markets. And there was a couple that caught my eye. We've got in the top 50, players to be ranked in the top 50. We've got Ruzavori minus 114, Marizan plus 105, Andy Murray plus 135, Dominic Stricker plus 160. And then we go into the players to be ranked in the top 75. And the one I like, Medjevic, I think it's Hamad Medjevic, the guy who won the Next Gen tournament. Minus 114 to be in the top 75. It's probably a lot of money to tie up, but I would expect a very big season from him. Minus 114 there. And if you look in the top 35, I like Jack Draper. I think Jack Draper, if he can keep a lot of he's had a lot of problems with injuries. If he can be fit and have a full season, Jack Draper will not only break in the top 35, will break in the top 20 in the world. So head to the BetRivers website. They've got some really good specials on there. Players to be in the top 10, players to be number 1 at the end of the world. And, you know, probably no surprise to you that I expect a big year from Yannick Sinner, so I quite like him in that market. But head there, really, really interesting ones. Ben Shelton to finish in the top 10 at the end of the year, plus 260. I know the American, so we will like that market as well. In the top 20, Felix Auger-Aliassime, we expect a big year for me, minus 177. So a huge amount of markets here. I think they've got 38 different markets available there on specials, which really caught my eye on the website. And hopefully I can speak to Sean about that next week. Thanks for watching. Give us a subscribe, as I said. Good luck with your bets this week. I'll be back on Monday to give you an outright look at the matches for the round 1 or round 2, whichever stage we get to it. Before I go, have a very happy, healthy, and prosperous 2024. Happy New Year to everybody. Enjoy it with your family tonight. And after festivities, I will be back on Monday and Tuesday breaking down some more matches here in Brisbane. Take care.